regretting my marriage just 2 months after the wedding. The biggest mistake of my life. I used to think I was lucky. When I was in love, I dreamed of a happy home, a loving husband, and a complete family. But reality turned out to be completely different from what I had imagined. Just 2 months after getting married, I realized I had made the biggest mistake of my life. My husband and I had been together for 8 months before deciding to get married. I knew that wasn't enough time to truly understand someone. But back then, he seemed like a good man. During our relationship, he cared for me, and his family appeared kind and peaceful. I had visited his home multiple times, shared meals, and talked to his mother. She was a strong, successful woman in business, and I admired her for that. So when she asked for my hand in marriage, I didn't hesitate. But just 2 months into this marriage, my life had completely changed. I was no longer myself. I became a wife under strict control, a daughter-in-law suffocated by rigid rules, and a woman who gradually lost her freedom and happiness. The first step toward being trapped. After the wedding, my mother-in-law forced me to quit my old job to work for her. At first, I didn't think too much about it. I thought working in the family business might be a good opportunity for growth. But soon, I realized it was just a trap. Before getting married, I had my own small business, but my mother-in-law found every possible reason to forbid me from continuing it. You need to focus on the family. Your husband gets jealous easily, so working outside won't be good for your marriage. At the time, I didn't understand why, but later, I realized it was her way of making me completely dependent on her. Without a job, without my own income, I had no control over my own life. The husband I loved had changed before marriage. My husband was sweet and caring. But after we got married, he became a completely different person. He obeyed his mother without question. Whatever she said was final. I once thought he would be my support, my safe space, but I soon realized he was just another puppet under his mother's control. He had no opinions of his own, no say in family matters. If I suggested something, he would always run to his mother for approval. When I mentioned that we should have our own space, he immediately asked her, and of course she said, "There's no need. It's best for you to stay here with me for support." And without hesitation, he agreed. The worst part was that he had no sense of responsibility for our family. He was extremely controlling and refused to help with anything around the house. Even when I was sick, I still had to get up to take care of everything. Over the past year, he hadn't given me a single penny, and I had to use my personal savings to cover household expenses. When I brought it up, he dismissed it, saying, "My salary isn't even enough for myself." I had hoped that if I endured it, he would change. But things only got worse. He started going out with his friends late at night, often coming home at 2 or 3 a.m. I couldn't sleep until he returned, and then I had to wake up early for work, leaving me completely exhausted. I tried talking to my mother-in-law, hoping she would step in and talk to him, but she coldly responded, "You should reflect on yourself. What did you do to make him stay out so late? He must be unhappy with you. Try to understand him." I was speechless. Was this really my fault? My mother-in-law's invisible control. My mother-in-law was undoubtedly a brilliant businesswoman, and I respected her for that. But living with her meant constantly feeling anxious and afraid. I had no right to make any decisions on my own. Everything had to go through her. She controlled my mind and my actions. Every time I went out with friends, the next day she would emotionally torment me with endless criticism. She always found ways to restrict my freedom. I wanted to work and earn my own money, but she wouldn't allow it. Even when I asked my husband to move out so we could have our own space, she opposed it. But the most painful thing was that my husband didn't support me either. When I asked him to consider moving out so we could have privacy, he immediately refused. "Why move out when we have my mother's help? I don't want to be away from her." He never once considered how I felt. Trapped with no way out. Every day I felt suffocated. It was like being a bird trapped in a cage. I wanted to fly, but I couldn't. I wanted to break free, but every door was locked. I was no longer myself. Once an independent, free-spirited woman, I had become someone who just endured everything in silence. I was scared that if this continued, I would fall into depression. I don't know what to do anymore. If I stay, I will continue to suffer. But if I leave, I will have to face criticism, judgment, and pressure from my family and society. What should I do? Please, someone, give me advice.